Beneath the rugged coastal deserts of Peru lies a civilization older than the Incas, older even than the pyramids of Egypt, a civilization whose story has almost vanished into the sands of time. This is Norte Chico, one of the earliest civilizations of the Americas, flourishing over 5,000 years ago. Unlike the empires of Mesopotamia or the Nile, Norte Chico left no written records, no tales etched in stone to immortalize its people. Instead, it whispers its secrets through the monumental ruins scattered across the Sup, Pativilca, and Huaura valleys. Pyramids rising from the earth, sunken plazas, and ancient irrigation systems that hint at the ingenuity of a society lost to history. Imagine a civilization without warfare, without pottery, thriving in harmony with its environment, orchestrating a complex society that predated the Incas by millennia. Here, in this arid yet fertile landscape, people carved out cities that defy modern understanding, built structures aligned with celestial patterns, and cultivated a world that married the land and the sea. As we journey into the heart of ancient Peru, the mystery of Norte Chico unfolds. A story of innovation, resilience, and secrets that time has stubbornly preserved, waiting for us to listen. Around 3000 BCE, the valleys along Peru's arid coast became the cradle for one of the most extraordinary experiments in human civilization. Small nomadic groups, who had once hunted and foraged, began to settle along the rivers that cut through the desert. These early inhabitants were drawn to the fertile riverbanks where irrigation transformed barren land into thriving agricultural fields. Here, in these interlacing valleys, the seeds of Norte Chico's civilization were sown. The Supa Valley emerged as the epicenter of this transformation, hosting the ancient city of Caral. Often referred to as the oldest urban center in the Americas, Caral sprawled across more than 150 acres, its monumental platforms and sunken plazas signaling an unprecedented complexity for a society without written language. Nestled between the Pacific Ocean and the Andes, Caral's inhabitants ingeniously harnessed both land and sea, cultivating cotton and squash while harvesting the rich marine bounty of anchovies, shellfish, and other ocean resources. This dual reliance on agriculture and fishing allowed for population growth and a stable economic base, a foundation upon which monumental architecture and societal structures could rise. Unlike other ancient civilizations of its era, Norte Chico developed without pottery, metals, or even defensive fortifications. There was no evidence of warfare. Instead, cooperation and communal labor became the hallmarks of their society. Massive stone and adobe constructions, pyramids, plazas, and ceremonial platforms were raised through collective effort, reflecting both social cohesion and religious devotion. The alignment of these structures with celestial events suggests a sophisticated understanding of astronomy, pointing to rituals and ceremonies intricately tied to the cosmos. The civilization spread across multiple valleys, with urban centers connected by a network of irrigation channels, roads, and trade paths. This allowed for the movement of goods, ideas, and labor across distances that would have challenged other contemporary societies. Evidence of textile production, fishing implements, and agricultural tools indicates a diversified economy, with specialized labor contributing to a complex social hierarchy. While elites oversaw ceremonial life and resource management, ordinary citizens maintained the infrastructure that sustained the cities. Norte Chico society thrived not through conquest, but through innovation, collaboration, and an intimate understanding of its environment. Religious and ceremonial life was equally central to the rise of this civilization. Monumental mounds such as Huaca de los Ídolos and Huaca de la Galgada served as focal points for rituals, possibly related to fertility, water, and agricultural cycles. Musical instruments, carved stones, and symbolic artifacts hint at a spiritual dimension deeply interwoven with daily life. Even the absence of writing did not impede the transfer of knowledge. Oral traditions coupled with quipus, knotted strings used for record-keeping, ensured the continuity of ideas across generations. By 1800 BCE, Norte Chico had reached its zenith, establishing a network of cities across the coastal valleys. Its rise defied the conventional markers of civilization. It flourished without metallurgy, without pottery, and without written language. Yet it achieved what many contemporaneous societies could not. Norte Chico's emergence challenges our assumptions about the prerequisites for complex society, revealing a civilization that thrived through ingenuity, resilience, and an extraordinary ability to adapt to the harsh Andean environment. Yet as we marvel at the ingenuity of this early civilization, questions linger. How did such a society organize itself so efficiently? What unseen forces guided the construction of its monumental architecture? And ultimately, what would become of this remarkable civilization? These questions lead us to the very heart of Norte Chico's urban centers and architectural wonders. The next chapter of our journey. The cities of Norte Chico rise like whispers from the desert, silent witnesses to a society that defied the constraints of its time. Caral, the jewel of the Supe Valley, stands as the most striking example. A city sprawling across more than 150 acres, its monumental mounds, sunken plazas, and residential compounds etched into the landscape with meticulous precision. These structures, crafted from stone and adobe, have withstood over 5,000 years of weather and erosion, offering a window into the ingenuity of a civilization that built without metal tools or the wheel. The architectural feats of Norte Chico were not mere expressions of power or grandeur. They were manifestations of a deep understanding of environment, engineering, and human cooperation. Pyramidal platform mounds such as the Huaca de los Ídolos and Huaca de la Galgada served as ceremonial centers, possibly acting as stages for public gatherings, religious rituals, and seasonal observances tied to the agricultural calendar. Sunken circular plazas, some nearly 20 meters in diameter, may have functioned as communal spaces where music, dance, and ritual reinforced social cohesion and spiritual devotion. One of the most astonishing aspects of Norte Chico architecture is the precision with which these structures were aligned. Some mounds correspond with solar and lunar cycles, suggesting a sophisticated grasp of astronomy and a society attuned to celestial rhythms. Even without written language, the city itself communicated knowledge, its spatial organization reflecting social hierarchies, religious significance, and the delicate balance between human activity and natural resources. The cities were remarkably open, devoid of defensive walls or fortifications. This openness suggests a culture rooted in cooperation rather than conflict, one where the absence of warfare allowed energy and ingenuity to be channeled into monumental construction and communal life. Roads and irrigation channels linked urban centers across the valleys, enabling trade, communication, and resource distribution. These networks were vital, ensuring the survival and growth of a civilization that thrived in an environment that could easily have defeated a less adaptable society. Yet, for all its grandeur, the architecture of Norte Chico is enigmatic. Who designed these cities? How were such massive constructions coordinated without written records or sophisticated tools? Each stone, each plaza, each mound poses questions as compelling as the answers they suggest, leaving us to ponder the intelligence, vision, and labor that went into creating a society so advanced, yet so secretive. As we leave the monumental cities behind, we step into the intimate spaces of daily life. The homes, the ceremonial sites, the rituals that defined the human experience of Norte Chico. What did it mean to live, work, and worship in this ancient world? The story continues in the next chapter. Life in Norte Chico was a delicate choreography of work, ritual, and social responsibility. Unlike other ancient civilizations, whose history is punctuated by conquest and warfare, Norte Chico's society thrived in relative peace. Archaeological evidence suggests a stratified society where elites oversaw religious and civic activities, yet labor and resources were shared communally, reflecting a culture that valued cooperation and cohesion. Daily life revolved around agriculture, fishing, and construction. Cotton fields stretched along river valleys, maize and squash nourished the population, and the Pacific Ocean provided a constant bounty of fish and shellfish. This abundance supported a specialized division of labor. Some tended crops, others built the monumental mounds, while skilled artisans wove textiles and crafted ritual objects. This system of interdependence ensured that cities like Caral functioned as harmonious, self-sustaining communities. Religion permeated every facet of life. Monumental platforms and sunken plazas were not only architectural achievements, but sacred spaces where priests and elites conducted ceremonies that reinforced the society's connection to the natural and celestial worlds. Artifacts such as ceremonial flutes, carved stone objects, and symbols depicting deities or natural forces suggest that fertility, water, and agricultural cycles were central to spiritual life. Some scholars speculate that toad figurines and water-related iconography reflect a reverence for life-giving water, a resource that was both precious and precarious in the arid coastal environment. Music, ritual dance, and symbolic objects likely accompanied religious observances, uniting the community and reaffirming social bonds. Even in the absence of writing, knowledge was transmitted through oral traditions and quaipus, knotted strings used to record information. This unique method of communication highlights the sophistication of Norte Chico society. They preserved history, coordinated labor, and transmitted cultural knowledge without a single written text. The culture of Norte Chico also reflects a profound awareness of balance between humans and nature, work and ceremony, earth and sky. The orientation of buildings toward celestial phenomena, the integration of plazas and mounds with the surrounding landscape, and the careful management of water resources all point to a society that understood the interdependence of its environment and its survival. Yet despite the evidence, much remains a mystery. Who were the leaders guiding these communities? How were decisions made in a society that built monumental cities without coercion? And how did spiritual beliefs shape everyday life in ways we may never fully comprehend? As we explore the mechanisms that sustain the civilization, its agriculture, trade networks, and economy, we begin to see how Norte Chico was not merely a collection of cities, but a complex, interwoven society whose influence would resonate far beyond its arid valleys. The story of their daily lives and their beliefs is only one layer of a civilization whose secrets are still being unearthed. The lifeblood of Norte Chico flowed from both the land and the sea, a duality that allowed this ancient civilization to flourish where others might have faltered. In the arid coastal valleys of Peru, agriculture was not merely a means of sustenance. It was a sophisticated system of survival, innovation, and economic organization. Cotton, maize, and squash formed the backbone of agricultural production, cultivated in terraced fields and nourished by intricate irrigation channels that channeled water from rivers to parched soils. This mastery of irrigation was no small feat, demonstrating a profound understanding of hydraulics and environmental management. Yet the ocean played an equally vital role. Coastal communities relied heavily on fishing, harvesting anchovies, shellfish, and other marine life to supplement their diet and trade goods. Fish, dried and preserved, became a commodity for barter, linking inland cities with coastal hubs. Cotton, meanwhile, was spun and woven into textiles that circulated through valleys and highlands alike. This exchange of goods formed the foundation of Norte Chico's complex economy, a network of trade routes connecting cities like Caral, Aspero, and Vichama, fostering both prosperity and cultural cohesion. Remarkably, Norte Chico achieved this economic complexity without the wheel or large domesticated animals, relying instead on human labor, ingenuity, and coordination. Communities collaborated to construct canals, terraces, and storage facilities, demonstrating that the power of collective effort could surpass technological limitations. Quipus, knotted strings used for record keeping, allowed administrators to track resources, labor contributions, and trade exchanges, providing a system of organization without written language. Trade extended beyond mere survival. Salt, shells, and precious stones were exchanged, while ritual objects and textiles traveled across regions, suggesting a shared cultural and spiritual economy. The movement of these goods facilitated communication, artistic influence, and the spread of technological innovations. Norte Chico's economy was thus as much about connection and cohesion as it was about production. Each trade route a thread weaving together the fabric of society. Yet even with such ingenuity, the prosperity of Norte Chico was fragile. It was deeply entwined with the environment, dependent on consistent rainfall, river flow, and marine abundance. The civilization thrived not by dominating nature, but by understanding and adapting to it, a delicate balance that would ultimately be tested. As we turn to the next chapter, the fragility of this balance becomes evident. Environmental pressures, resource management challenges, and societal shifts all converged, revealing how even the most resilient civilizations can falter when the equilibrium that sustains them is disrupted. For centuries, Norte Chico flourished in harmony with its environment, yet its decline remains one of the most enigmatic chapters in ancient history. Unlike civilizations that fell to conquest or war, Norte Chico's collapse seems rooted in forces both natural and inscrutable. Climate, environmental shifts, and perhaps the unintended consequences of its own growth. Archaeological evidence points to a series of prolonged droughts along the Peruvian coast, beginning around 1800 BCE. River levels receded, irrigation systems faltered, and agricultural yields dwindled. Crops that had once sustained large populations became unreliable, threatening both nutrition and trade. The society's dependence on precise environmental conditions, a hallmark of its ingenuity, became a vulnerability. The ocean, once a generous provider, may have experienced fluctuations in fish populations. Further straining resources, social stresses likely accompanied these environmental pressures. As populations grew and cities expanded, the management of water, labor, and food would have become increasingly complex. Elite oversight, so crucial for coordinating monumental construction and ritual activities, may have struggled under mounting scarcity. Ceremonial sites and iconography, such as depictions of skeletal figures and toad symbols associated with water, hint at a society grappling with crisis, turning to spiritual means to understand and influence the natural world. Yet the collapse of Norte Chico was not abrupt or violent. Unlike the destruction seen in Mesopotamia or the Andes thousands of years later, the archaeological record shows a gradual abandonment of cities, a slow disintegration of urban centers rather than mass destruction. It was a society quietly receding, leaving behind its monumental mounds and sunken plazas as silent witnesses to human ingenuity and fragility. Some scholars suggest that societal choices may have compounded environmental stress. The labor-intensive construction of pyramids and ceremonial platforms, while a testament to social cohesion, may have strained resources in times of scarcity. Dependence on irrigation systems meant that even minor climatic fluctuations could have cascading effects, undermining agriculture and destabilizing trade networks. The mysteries of Norte Chico's decline continue to challenge historians. Was it climate alone that brought the civilization to its knees? Or did cultural, political, or spiritual factors also play a role? Did its leaders attempt to adapt, only to find the natural forces beyond control? The truth remains elusive, hidden in layers of earth, stone, and memory, leaving us to imagine the final days of a civilization that once thrived quietly in the desert valleys of Peru. Even in its collapse, Norte Chico left an enduring legacy. Its agricultural innovations, architectural ingenuity, and social organization influenced successive Andean cultures, providing a foundation upon which later civilizations, including the Incas, would build. The rise and fall of Norte Chico remind us that even the most extraordinary achievements are entwined with the fragile rhythms of nature, and that the echoes of lost civilizations continue to resonate across millennia. The story of Norte Chico was nearly lost to time, hidden beneath layers of sand, soil, and centuries of human neglect. It was not until the late 20th century that archaeologists began uncovering the traces of this ancient civilization, revealing a world that challenges conventional narratives of early human society. Excavations in the Sup, Patavilca, and Huaura valleys unveiled monumental cities, intricate irrigation systems, and artifacts that spoke of a sophisticated, peaceful civilization thriving thousands of years before the Incas. Caral, the centerpiece of Norte Chico, revealed the sheer scale of human ingenuity. Its platform mounds, some rising over 30 meters high, were constructed without metal tools, wheels, or draft animals. Sunken circular plazas, perfectly aligned with surrounding structures, hint at a society capable of astronomical observation and ritual planning on a grand scale. Residential areas, meticulously organized, suggest social stratification, while the absence of fortifications paints a picture of a culture that relied on cooperation rather than coercion. Artifacts found at Caral and other sites, including flutes carved from bone, ceremonial knives, and finely woven textiles, provide glimpses into daily life, artistry, and ritual practices. These objects, often buried in ceremonial contexts, reveal a spiritual dimension intertwined with social organization. Perhaps most remarkable is the discovery of quipus, knotted cords used for record-keeping and communication. Their presence at Caral demonstrates that Norte Chico developed sophisticated methods for organizing labor, tracking resources, and transmitting knowledge without a written language, a feat that challenges our understanding of early civilizations. Other sites, such as Aspero along the coast, complement this picture. Here, evidence of fishing infrastructure and maritime trade networks shows how coastal communities supplied inland cities with marine resources. Vishama in the Patavilca Valley adds further depth, with ceremonial mounds, residential structures, and ritual artifacts providing clues about social hierarchy, religious life, and adaptation to environmental stress. Every excavation deepens the mystery. How were these massive projects coordinated without centralized bureaucracy as we understand it? How did the society sustain itself across multiple valleys and generations? Archaeology provides tantalizing answers while simultaneously raising new questions, revealing a civilization both extraordinary and elusive. Even today, Norte Chico continues to surprise researchers. Advanced geophysical surveys and carbon dating techniques have refined our understanding of timelines and construction sequences, suggesting that the civilization's peak may have extended earlier than previously thought. Each discovery illuminates human ingenuity while reminding us of the vast unknown. Entire aspects of social, religious, and political life remain hidden beneath the sands, waiting for future generations to unearth them. In the face of such evidence, the mind is left to wander, pondering the people who lived, labored, and worshipped in these desert valleys. And yet, the more we uncover, the more profound the mysteries become, leading us inevitably to the questions that archaeology cannot yet answer. Despite decades of excavation and research, Norte Chico retains an aura of enigma. Scholars continue to debate fundamental questions about this ancient civilization. How did it organize itself without writing? Why did it develop monumental architecture in the absence of warfare? And, most puzzling of all, what caused its decline? The absence of writing has fueled numerous theories. While quipus served as a form of record-keeping, they do not reveal narratives, myths, or historical accounts. This silence leaves a void in understanding daily life, governance, and interpersonal dynamics. How did leaders coordinate massive construction projects? How were resources allocated across multiple urban centers? Some archaeologists suggest that communal consensus and ritual authority may have guided these processes, yet the exact mechanisms remain speculative. The civilization's peaceful nature also provokes curiosity. Norte Chico built monumental pyramids and ceremonial complexes without evidence of fortifications or weapons. Why? Was it a conscious choice reflecting societal values? Or did the isolation of the coastal valleys provide natural security that made defense unnecessary? The lack of conflict challenges conventional models of early state formation, suggesting that social cohesion, spirituality, and collective labor were sufficient to maintain order. The collapse of Norte Chico, too, is a subject of debate. Environmental studies point to prolonged droughts, declining river flows, and climatic instability as likely contributors. Yet some researchers propose additional factors: resource overexploitation, shifts in trade networks, or internal social tensions. Could the very achievements that define the civilization, massive irrigation projects, extensive urban construction, and population concentration, have made it more vulnerable to environmental stress? Or was its decline the result of unforeseen, uncontrollable forces, leaving the society to fade quietly into obscurity? Other mysteries linger in cultural and spiritual realms. The purpose of sunken circular plazas, toad sculptures, and other ritual artifacts remains partially understood. Were they linked purely to agriculture and fertility? Or did they represent a more complex cosmology, connecting humans with celestial cycles, water spirits, or ancestral forces? Similarly, the choice of building materials, site alignments, and urban planning continued to intrigue scholars. Norte Chico's architects demonstrated knowledge that seems advanced even by later standards, raising questions about how such knowledge was transmitted across generations. Despite centuries of study, Norte Chico's full story remains elusive. A civilization defined by its accomplishments yet shrouded in mystery. Each archaeological discovery, while illuminating, also deepens the sense of wonder. The unanswered questions challenge historians and captivate the imagination. How did humans achieve such complexity without many of the tools typically associated with civilization? What cultural, spiritual, or social mechanisms allowed this society to flourish peacefully for centuries? And perhaps the greatest mystery of all is why we know so little about Norte Chico compared to other ancient civilizations. Its ruins are silent, its records nearly non-existent, yet its influence echoes in the valleys of Peru and in the achievements of later Andean societies. As we ponder these questions, we are reminded that history is not merely a record of the past. It is an invitation to explore, to imagine, and to wonder at what has been lost and what may yet be discovered. Though Norte Chico vanished millennia ago, its impact resonates through the Andean highlands and beyond. This civilization, emerging over 5,000 years ago, laid the foundations for later societies such as the Chavan, Mochi, and ultimately the Incas. Its achievements in urban planning, agriculture, and social organization offered a template for civilizations that followed, demonstrating how human ingenuity could thrive in challenging environments. The irrigation systems pioneered in the Sup and Patavilca valleys were not mere agricultural tools. They represented an early mastery of resource management that allowed communities to flourish in the harsh coastal desert. Later Andean civilizations refined these methods, but the principles, the careful distribution of water, the coordination of labor, and the integration of agriculture with natural cycles can be traced back to Norte Chico. Similarly, monumental architecture left a lasting imprint. The pyramidal mounds, sunken plazas, and ceremonial complexes inspired subsequent societies in both design and symbolic function. The integration of urban spaces with astronomical observation, ritual performance, and community life exemplified a sophisticated understanding of human-environment interaction that reverberated through centuries. Culturally, Norte Chico influenced the spiritual and social frameworks of the Andes. The emphasis on fertility, celestial cycles, and communal participation in ceremonies foreshadowed religious practices observed in later civilizations. Even the Quaipu, a unique system of knotted cords for record-keeping, persisted as a tool of administration and communication, connecting generations across time. Perhaps most importantly, the legacy of Norte Chico is a reminder that complex civilizations need not follow familiar scripts of conquest, warfare, or writing. It thrived through ingenuity, cooperation, and a deep respect for the environment, leaving a blueprint for sustainability and resilience that remains relevant even today. The valleys of ancient Peru may have fallen silent, yet their echoes continue in the cities, rituals, and knowledge of the civilizations that followed. Norte Chico stands as a testament to human creativity, resilience, and mystery. Its cities, pyramids, and plazas whisper stories of a civilization that flourished in harmony with nature, constructing monumental achievements without warfare, metal tools, or written language. Though the people of Norte Chico vanished, their ingenuity endures in the architectural, agricultural, and cultural legacies left behind. As we gaze upon the ruins of Caral, Aspero, and Vijama, we are confronted with questions that may never be fully answered. How did this society organize itself so efficiently? What spiritual and social forces guided their monumental creations? And what lessons lie hidden within their quiet disappearance? The story of Norte Chico reminds us that history is not merely a chronicle of kings and battles. It is a tapestry woven from human innovation, perseverance, and adaptation. In the silent deserts of Peru, the pyramids and plazas remain, watching over the land as eternal witnesses to a lost civilization. They challenge us to imagine, to wonder, and to remember that even the earliest societies in the Americas possessed wisdom and sophistication that continues to inspire awe, curiosity, and respect across millennia.